Before a single minute of football had been played at the 2026 World Cup, the tournament had already generated a controversy that had nothing to do with tactics, selection, or results. It emerged from the commercial layer that sits beneath every major sporting event of this scale, the contest between brands for the attention of the billions of people about to watch the football. And on opening day, that contest produced its first visible failure, its first organized campaign, and its first entirely unplanned viral moment, all within the same 12 hours. Start with the commercial scale, because it establishes the stakes of everything that followed. According to data from WERC Media, brands are projected to direct an additional $10.5 billion into global advertising during the second quarter of 2026, specifically because of this tournament. That figure represents incremental spend, money allocated on top of existing budgets, triggered by the World Cup's presence in the calendar. 20 official sponsors paid for the exclusive right to position their brands within that commercial conversation. The governing body sold those rights at prices commensurate with its projected $11 billion in total tournament revenue. The deal in its broadest outline is straightforward. FIFA provides a platform, the sponsors provide the funding, and together they construct a commercial architecture around the football. On opening day, more than half of those 20 sponsors, including McDonald's and Kia America, had not yet released a single piece of World Cup advertising. Their absence handed the brands that did show up early a disproportionate share of public attention. Marketing analysts identified Adidas, Lego, and Lay's as early campaigns that found authentic connection points with football audiences rather than simply grafting logo placement onto generic tournament imagery. Budweiser produced a campaign featuring Erling Haaland and Jurgen Klopp built around 1990s nostalgia, the kind of work that prompted observers to suggest it warranted expansion beyond a standard commercial format, a reaction that very few advertisements at any scale managed to generate. And then there was Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola's relationship with the World Cup spans decades. It is among the most established and most prominent of FIFA's commercial partnerships, the kind of association that, for anyone who has watched multiple tournaments, feels woven into the fabric of the competition itself. For 2026, the brand developed a three-part campaign platform under the title All the Fields. The first installment, called Bubbling Up, launched in January. It depicted supporters' pre-match energy spreading through a crowded elevator, set to a rearranged version of a classic rock track. Critical reception was favorable. It captured something genuine about anticipatory football emotion. Reviewers described it as landing well. The second installment, Uncanned Emotions, did not land the same way. Rather than centering the campaign on footballers, the approach taken by most major World Cup advertisers. Coca-Cola built this film around match commentators, the voices audiences associate with the broadcast experience. The concept had potential. The execution became the story. The campaign relied extensively on AI-generated visuals. Footage of cans being handled, opened, tipped, and spilled, rendered through generative AI rather than conventional production. Industry reviewers described the response as predominantly negative. Critics characterized the approach as prioritizing production efficiency over creative substance, with the technology functioning as a primary visual element rather than serving the narrative. One review noted that the campaign positioned the brand itself as the central focus rather than the football or the audience, producing an effect that felt disconnected from the emotional register it was attempting to occupy. The word used most consistently to describe it, flat. What converts this from a single campaign misstep into a meaningful pattern is a timeline. Coca-Cola's holiday campaigns in both 2024 and 2025 attracted the same criticism, expressed in almost identical terms. AI-generated imagery described as unsettling and lacking human warmth. 3 consecutive years. The same company, the same critical framework, the same underlying creative decision, producing the same audience response. Pepsi encountered a smaller version of the same problem with its own World Cup advertising, drawing criticism over AI visuals at a scale that was measurably less severe than Coca-Cola's, but pointed in the same direction. A creative industry analyst summarized the emerging pattern with an observation that the appetite among general audiences for generative AI in major brand campaigns appears to be narrowing consistently. People have developed the ability to identify it, and the identification increasingly produces a negative rather than neutral response. For a company investing what is certainly a substantial sum to attach its identity to the world's most watched sporting event, finding itself featured in industry analysis as the primary example of what to avoid is not the opening day outcome its marketing operation was working toward. But the Coca-Cola story did not end with critical reviews of a commercial. On the same day the tournament opened, a coalition of international public health organizations operating under the name Kick Big Soda formally renewed its campaign, calling on FIFA to reconsider its entire sponsorship relationship with the soft drink industry. The coalition's argument is long-standing and has been directed at major sporting events for years, but it carries particular weight at a tournament of the scope and audience reach. Their position is specific. Football's largest competition, an event whose identity is built on athletic achievement, physical performance, and global community, is being commercially associated with product that peer-reviewed research has consistently linked to obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and related long-term health outcomes. The campaign argues that this association creates a misleading equivalence for the audience, particularly the large number of children among the billions watching. The coalition timed the campaign's renewal to coincide with the opening ceremony, deliberately using a moment of maximum global attention as a platform for maximum visibility. FIFA had not issued a public response at the time of writing. Beneath both of these Coca-Cola stories, the creative controversy and the health campaign, sits a structural dimension of the commercial operation that explains much of what has shaped this tournament's advertising environment for months. FIFA's legal framework around brand association at the World Cup is among the most extensive in professional sport. Terms that appear generic, World Cup 2026, certain numerical combinations alongside football terminology, are registered trademarks. Any entity creating the impression of official tournament association without holding a paid sponsorship position is exposed to legal action. Beyond trademark enforcement, FIFA made one structural decision specifically designed to eliminate an entire category of unauthorized commercial leverage. It renamed every one of the 16 host venues for the tournament's duration. The stadium in New Jersey, ordinarily carrying its existing corporate identity, became the New York New Jersey Stadium. The venue in Los Angeles became the Los Angeles Stadium. Across all 16 venues, existing corporate branding was stripped and replaced with geographic designation, removing the opportunity for non-sponsors to build association by referencing stadium names that carry their own commercial identities. Legal firms across multiple jurisdictions spent months ahead of the tournament publishing guidance for commercial clients on what constitutes ambush marketing and how to avoid inadvertent exposure. The analysis identifies 3 operational categories: ambush by association, building perceived affiliation through imagery or language without using protected marks, ambush by intrusion, achieving physical visibility at or near venues in ways that generate unauthorized coverage, and opportunistic ambush, real-time reactive content on digital platforms that inserts a brand into viral tournament moments as they develop. That third category, the real-time response, is where FIFA's legal architecture has the least operational leverage because it unfolds on platforms the governing body doesn't control, in response to moments it didn't script, at speeds that precede any legal intervention. And on opening day, the tournament provided exactly the kind of unscripted, uncontrollable moment that the opportunistic ambush category was designed to exploit. Mexico against South Africa at the stadium now operating under the name Mexico City Stadium. The Azteca under temporary rebranding, but still the ground has hosted more World Cups than any other venue in history. The opening ceremony had featured Shakira, Andrea Bocelli, and J Balvin performing before 80,000 people. The first match of the largest World Cup ever staged produced a 2-0 result for Mexico. Goals from Julian Quinones in the opening minutes, and a deeply significant second from Raul Jimenez. His first World Cup goal, delivered with a header that commentators framed as the resolution of a long personal and national narrative around underwhelming home tournament starts. But the goals were not the dominant conversation. By full time, 3 players were sent off. It was the first occasion in World Cup history that an opening match produced 3 dismissals. South Africa's fellow Siddle was shown a red card in the 49th minute for denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity. Thabo Seal followed in the 84th minute after a VAR review concluded his hand had made contact with the face of Mexico's Roberto Alvarado, a decision that multiple analysts subsequently described as borderline, noting the referee's visible hesitation at the pitch side monitor before confirming it. And then in stoppage time, with South Africa reduced to 9 men and committing players forward, Mexico's Cesar Montes received the match's third red card for denying a goal-scoring opportunity at the opposite end. ESPN's match analysis described the officiating decisions as, on balance, more debatable than definitive. The moment that produced the most sustained online conversation from the entire opening day, however, was something else entirely. As part of a new referee transparency initiative for this tournament, a protocol designed to improve communication with stadium audiences and global viewers by having officials explain VAR decisions directly over the public address system, the match referee, Wilton Sampaio Brazil, approached the pitch side monitor for the sealed dismissal, reviewed the footage, and then delivered his explanation live, in English, to a stadium populated almost entirely by Spanish-speaking supporters and a global broadcast audience watching in dozens of languages. The explanation did not communicate its intended meaning with clarity. Viewers, broadcasters, and reportedly some participants on the pitch struggled to follow what was being described. The clips circulated within hours. By the following morning, it had been characterized by multiple outlets as the tournament's first viral moment, a piece of content that reached significant audience scale without any commercial involvement, without any marketing strategy, and without any relationship to the framework FIFA had built to manage the tournament's commercial presence. No sponsorship fee underwrote its distribution. No agency planned its release. No legal instrument was positioned to address it. It spread because football audiences found it genuinely arresting, and the opportunistic content that followed, the reaction posts, the meme formats, the commentary clips, all rode the tournament's opening day attention without authorization and without any mechanism for the governing body to intervene meaningfully in real time. There was a secondary commercial friction point on the same day, smaller in scale, but connected to the same structural tension. The player welfare protocols for this tournament include mandatory 3-minute hydration intervals at roughly the midway point of each half, a response to the legitimate heat concerns that have been documented from multiple host venues. These intervals also provide broadcasters with predictable advertising window prior to the conventional halftime break. In the opening match, shortly after Jimenez's goal put Mexico 2 goals clear in the 67th minute, the second hydration interval was taken. U.S. broadcasters used the moment to cut to commercial. Viewers who had just watched one of the most emotionally significant goals from the host nation's perspective criticized the timing publicly, arguing the broadcast had prioritized the advertising slot over giving the moment space to land. In isolation, it is a minor episode, as one instance within a pattern. The pattern of a $10.5 billion commercial infrastructure in constant friction with the experience of actually watching football. It is something more indicative. The same day's late fixturing Group A produced South Korea coming from behind to defeat Czechia 2-1, a result that analysts immediately assessed as placing Czechia under significant qualification pressure, with their remaining group stage matches now requiring a specific set of outcomes to maintain progress. Day 2 brings the United States against Paraguay in Los Angeles. The moment the American host nations team enters the tournament, at SoFi Stadium, before what the organizers hope will be a sold-out crowd that finally delivers on the home tournament narrative this competition has been building toward for months. What the opening day established, commercially and on the pitch, is a particular dynamic that will run through the next 5 weeks. FIFA's commercial architecture, the renamed stadiums, the trademark enforcement, the $10.5 billion in brand investment, is designed to control how the tournament is represented and monetized. The football itself is not designed. It produces what it produces. And when what it produces is a referee's unclear English announcement that becomes the most shared piece of content from opening day, the commercial infrastructure built around the event finds itself competing for attention against the one thing inside the tournament that cannot be packaged, predicted, or licensed. That tension will not resolve itself. It will run the length of the competition. And the question it raises, whether a $10.5 billion advertising ecosystem can hold its audience's attention against the unplanned, unsponsored, completely organic moments that football generates on its own schedule, maybe the most commercially consequential question this tournament answers by July 19th.